Hello readers, I'm David Reader and today we're reviewing V2, written by Robert Harris in 2020. In this novel of Robert Harris, it's set in November 1944 and you have 2 points of view. You have Rudi Graf, who's a German engineer who's developing the V2 rockets, and on the other side you have Kay Caton Walsh, who's part of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force and is an officer in it. And Rudi Graf is instructed with launching as many V2s as possible, while Kay is instructed to stop them. So the opening of this book is a V2 rocket hitting London, and it hits the place where Kay is staying at, and she's staying with a senior officer who is cheating on his wife. The Brits are setting up a mission where they're gonna send a bunch of women in the Air Force to Belgium, where they're gonna try to blow up the base where the V2s are coming from. And they're gonna do this by tracing where the V2 is coming from, and then they're gonna tell it to the British bombers who's gonna bomb it. So that Kay can get sent to this, another British girl is kicked out. So initially you have some other British Air Force women who are resentful that she's been sent on the mission because of favoritism. And while Kay is in Belgium, she's staying with some Flemish people, the Vermeulens, who are reluctant to let her in, but they do. Back in Germany, you have one of the V2 rockets misfunctioning, blowing up and killing a bunch of Germans. And during this time you've had some Nazi party official who's been sent there to boost morale, and he demands that they send more V2 rockets. So they're gonna send about 12 rockets a day towards London. And in Belgium you've got Kay, who starts having an affair with the son Arnaud, and she's hanging out with one of the other Air Force women called Barbara. They go to a bar, they drink with Arnaud and his friend. Kay witnesses a woman in Belgium who has been a Nazi collaborator is gonna have her hair shaved off. She tries to stop it, Arnaud prevents her. She goes home with Arnaud, Barbara goes home with the other guy and they sleep together. Next day he's left, so she just goes back to base. The previous day she actually managed to see where the V2 was coming from, so they sent the bomber squad to bomb it in Germany, and they think they succeeded. They actually bombed off target slightly. Inventions, the Nazi morale guy decides, okay, we're gonna bomb this place in Belgium where this information came from. They send a rocket there, but it doesn't hit on target, it actually hits outside of town. Kay decides to go to the Vermeulens. There she finds that her papers where she's done these mathematics to find this rocket have been touched by someone, and she realizes that the brother of the family who she thought was dead is actually in the house, so she leaves the house. She goes and gets a squad of soldiers and has the Vermeulens arrested. They actually find the son Guillaume, who actually served with the Germans on the Eastern Front, so the Vermeulens are arrested. The man Barbara slept with actually was a Nazi collaborator, and she revealed information to him accidentally, and he revealed information to the Nazis that I believe got them to send a missile to Belgium. And during one of the missiles, Rudi Graf, he doesn't like really the Nazi cause and he knows it's lost, so he decides to sabotage it so it just goes off into space and is harmless. Previously he's seen some girl on the grounds and she's not allowed to, but he let her go, and he found out she's a prostitute who works at a brothel, and eventually the Nazis raid this brothel and arrest her and probably shoot her, and he can't do anything about it. But after he sabotaged the missile, he goes back to his hotel. He's arrested by the SS. They take a briefcase he has that Werner von Braun wants him to keep. They bring him to the SS interrogation center. They punch him once. Werner von Braun actually is part of the SS just for opportunistic reasons, so he comes in, escorts these guys as Iwak arrested Rudi Graf without the permission of the SS superior Hans Kammler. So Werner von Braun succeeds to get Graf out of there. They take a car, they go to some place isolated, they go under some trees and talk. Von Braun explains that he, Dornberger, have been assembling files on the V2 missile system, which they're gonna hand over to the Americans when the war is lost, and they want Rudi Graf to join in, and he does. We go forward afterwards to September 1945, where you see these Germans have collaborated with the Americans, and they briefly travel to Britain to explain some information, but they have decided basically that they're gonna work with the Americans and move to America instead of Britain. But Rudi Graf actually meets Kay Caton Walsh, and he decides that he's gonna stay in Britain. And that's the story. How would I rate V2? I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It's a great historical thriller set during World War II. You really get to understand the Nazi rocket programs where they're sending V2 rocket missiles in 1944 to bomb London and kill civilians basically for nothing. You really see how these German scientists are conflicted of working for the Nazis. That's why they so easily collaborated for the Americans. You also get to get the perspective of women in World War II and see how they were part of the auxiliary air force. As always, a great novel by Robert Harris. I definitely recommend you to read V2. It's a 9 out of 10, clearly. Great book. And if you're interested in World War II books by Robert Harris, then I would also recommend to you Munich, also written by Robert Harris. It's about the Munich conference, also a political thriller. Anyways, I'm the avid reader and I will see you readers next time.